Now that Squid Game Season 2 has been out for a bit, fans are combing through the first for hints about Gi-hun and company's future. Here are some of the clues you'd likely miss without knowledge of what was to come. Given the plot of Squid Game, there was always the assumption that a lot of characters would die, but how and when is where the tension comes into play. However, if you pay close attention to Episode 2, Hell, there are plenty of subtle hints about how various characters will eventually meet their ends.
If you just follow the rules, you can leave this place safely, with the prize money we promised.
Cho Sang-woo is about to commit suicide in a bathtub before he's interrupted by the doorbell and an offer to join the game. Sang-woo ends up sacrificing himself in the final game against Song Gi-hun. Ali Abdul steals his boss's money. He then dies in Episode 6 after Sang-woo steals his marbles.
I have 20 marbles. The rules said we could play whatever game to get our opponent to give us theirs.
Kong Sabiak holds a knife to a smuggler's throat, and Sang-woo stabs her in the same spot in her throat in Episode 8, Frontman. And the gangster Jung Dok-soo jumps off a bridge to escape some enemies, and fittingly enough, he dies during the glass bridge game. Even though Gi-hun doesn't die, his fate also comes full circle from where he starts. When he has a chance conversation with Oh Il-nam, unaware that he's talking with the game's creator, Il-nam talks about how awful the world is, trying to get Gi-hun back into the games.
What they say is true. Out here, that torture is worse.
In the final episode of Season 1, they speak again after Gi-hun has won and Il-nam has revealed himself. The one thing that hasn't changed is the topic. They're still talking about how truly bleak reality is. Squid Game Season 2's frontman twist feels like deja vu. Yes, since Season 1, Gi-hun is shocked to discover that Player 1 is not only still alive, but he is the mastermind of the games, playing with life and death just for fun.
Can you still trust anybody to be good?
But when Season 2 reveals early on that the new Player 1 is Hwang In-ho, the frontman himself, you can't help but wonder why Gi-hun isn't just a little more suspicious of the new guy, and there are clues galore. Take Season 1. The name Oh Il-nam literally translates to number one man, which Gi-hun should now realize he was. So in Season 2, when In-ho appears as the new Player 1 and takes the pseudonym Oh Young-il, which translates to 01, wake up Gi-hun, you're a betting man. What are the odds that in two separate games, Player 1 just so happens to have a name that literally means number one? Maybe Gi-hun is too trusting, or perhaps he didn't think the people behind the games would try the same bit twice. Or maybe he was forced to resort to the games to begin with because he was a lousy gambler. Whatever the reason, he really needs to start paying attention. In the horse race scene in Season 1, Episode 1, a bunch of men yell frantically at a screen showing their horses, who are designated by number. Gi-hun's got money on 6 and 8. Living, breathing animals are reduced to mere numbers for men to wager on. Add to that the fact that the sport forces the animals to push themselves beyond their capabilities, and many of them don't survive, and you've got the quintessential Squid Game metaphor.
It's the same here, but we bet on humans. You're our horses.
The exact same thing happens when Gi-hun enters the games later on. The players are reduced to numbers in the effort to dehumanize them, and VIPs watch them on screens far from the scene of the crime. It's the extravagantly wealthy who view the lower classes as animals to be pitted against one another for sport. Through Season 2 at least, the worldview is dark. Whether it ends that way remains to be seen.
Ooh, this is exciting. Gentlemen, this may be the deciding moment.
When Gi-hun first meets the salesman and the two play Dakji, Gi-hun is dead broke. The wager they make is sinister.
How about you use your body to pay?
A what?
I'll take 100 grand off per slap.
It's a simple premise that gets Gi-hun into the competition, but upon rewatching, it's interesting to see Gi-hun's reaction when he finally wins. When Gi-hun finally scores, he doesn't ask for the money, he's forgotten all about the cash. He can't wait to slap the salesman. Gi-hun's first instinct is to take revenge.
Get over here. It's my turn to do this.
9 episodes later, as the sole survivor of the competition, Gi-hun's gut reaction hasn't changed, even with 45.6 billion won and the opportunity to start a new life anywhere he wants. All Gi-hun can think about is taking revenge on the men behind the games and ending them for good.
You can hide all you want, but I swear I'll find you.
Season 2 builds to an early bang, literally, as Gi-hun and the salesman play Russian roulette. The scene parallels one of the most crucial scenes in the very first episode of the series. When the salesman first approaches, Gi-hun pulls a gun on him after a very bad day. He's not the violent type, however. Not yet, anyway. Gi-hun's pistol is a lighter. He just wants to be left alone.
I come from a very long line of Buddhists, so find another guy to preach to.
By season 2, things in Gi-hun's life have gotten more serious, but his moral center remains. He's not a violent man, and he doesn't cheat to win. As they play Russian roulette, the salesman hands Gi-hun a loaded gun and says he could shoot him with no real consequences besides the knowledge he's like all the rest of them. But Gi-hun refuses. He risks his life to play the game fair and square.
Don't do it. That isn't you. You're a good person at heart.
Looking back on Oh Il-nam's behavior during the games, it's kind of amazing that more viewers didn't catch on sooner to him being a ringer. For starters, he's completely nonchalant toward the games, despite the outcome being literal life or death. After the first people are shot in red light, green light, he's the first player to start moving again, and he has a huge smile on his face. Then in the second episode, Il-nam convinces Gi-hun to re-enter the games, which is pretty terrible advice under the circumstances. And why? What does Oh Il-nam stand to gain by Gi-hun risking his life? However, the biggest hint is something Gi-hun doesn't see, but we do. As Jun-ho investigates the island while the games take place, he comes across a folder containing all of the players' information, except for Player 1. The file begins with Player 2, which makes perfect sense. Those running the games don't need to keep tabs on the guy who created them. The ending of Season 1 is nothing short of tragic. Gi-hun walks away with all 45.6 billion won, but it's all for naught because his mother has already died.
Mom, where are you going? He said you need to stay here.
I'm okay.
But you're not okay.
Instead of being with her during her final days, he risked his life to pay for the medical treatment that would save her. But it's too late. It's a tragic happenstance, but it's one some viewers may have seen coming based on the Season 1 finale's title, One Lucky Day. One Lucky Day is also the title of a well-known Korean story by Hyun Jin-gon. The book is about a rickshaw puller whose wife begs him not to go to work because she's sick. He goes anyway and makes a lot of money, only to come home and find his wife has died. This story depicts the struggle of the working poor who neglect the people they love because they are working so hard to survive.
You haven't been home in days now, out doing whatever it is you're doing lately, but now you're a good son, huh?
It's Gi-hun's tragedy that now that his mother's gone, the money means nothing to him. In Season 1, Episode 6, Jun-ho takes photos of the files he's found as proof of what's going on with the games. When he takes the pictures on his smartphone, it makes a loud shutter noise. This seems like a rookie mistake, a potentially deadly one, considering that he's trespassing in a place where human life is dirt cheap. But before you scream plot hole at the screen, then take to social media to rant about production oversights, hang on. This is one of those places where knowledge of Korean culture comes in handy. South Korea actually has a law explicitly stating that all smartphones must make a shutter sound when taking a picture, and there's a good reason for it. It protects others' privacy by making them aware when someone nearby is taking photographs. The aim is to crack down on individuals taking photos of others without their consent. One of the biggest unanswered questions in Squid Game Season 2 involves Gi-hun's endgame. When most of the players who took part in this rebellion are killed, he's kept alive.
Now, witness the consequences of your little game.
One popular online fan theory is that Gi-hun will become the next frontman of the games. He'll have to make some big adjustments if that's where he's going to end up. For the moment, he's still trying to end the games for good, but it's not impossible to think that he could somehow be convinced the games are a necessary evil and become the conscience who oversees them. It's possible Season 1 gave us a clue to Gi-hun's future by way of a subtle costume choice. After the riot in Season 1 ends, Gi-hun notices that Il-nam has wet his pants, so he offers his jacket for Il-nam to wear around his waist. In exchange, Il-nam insists Gi-hun take his jacket. So, for a period of time, we see Gi-hun labeled as Player 1. This put him in the company of the game's founder and the current frontman. Il-nam giving Gi-hun his one jacket could suggest that he's grooming him to take a seat at the table moving forward. Of course, it's possible Gi-hun wearing the number 1 jacket foreshadowed his eventual first season win, becoming the number 1 player. But on a grander scale, it could hint at what's to come in Season 3. If Gi-hun becomes the new frontman, perhaps he'll follow in In-ho's lead and join the games himself, becoming the next Player 1 to keep tabs on the players.